Hi, Sunshine. So today I wanted to open up this conversation on meaning, why it is so important, and how it ties into the concept of who we are or who you are. Because, in all honesty, without our personal meaning, without a vision in life, that meaning that makes you alive, that inspires you to um, go beyond the daily physical difficulties or challenges or obstructions that we meet. And whether that is breakups or whether that is some health issues that we have to face or whether that is some problems at work and so on. I mean, there can be different number of reasons why we go through and we can experience these challenges in life. But when we have a meaning, what that helps is to uh, not feel lost. It helps us to maintain our inner peace and our inner balance. So when we go through these difficult situations in life, we don't destroy ourselves internally. And what I mean by destroying ourselves, destroying our psychological and emotional foundation. Because in reality, when psychologically and emotionally we feel completely deprived, drained, exhausted, and worn out, then we don't have the strength, we don't have the immunity to even face these challenges or problems or issues in our external physical reality. And this doesn't come down to what we have, but it comes down to having the knowing and the awareness to who we are, to keep us inspired, to keep us alive, to keep us active in life. And here I'm not speaking about those daily routine just activities like cleaning the house or paying the bills. Yes, they're all part of life. Yes, they're important, and yes, they're necessary. I mean active in the sense of being in the position of an active learner, to have the desire, the drive to face life, to wake up, to breathe, to move, to feel, and also to love. And in truth, the only meaning you, me, we, all of us will ever find is within. But when we become so distracted with all of these outside influences and the constant information that is surrounding us, we stop to question and to inquire what is within. And when we don't have that time for reflection and inquiry, then we cannot even discover what is truly meaningful to us and what makes us happy. Because that is the goal and the idea of this world or dual reality or matrix. You can call it what you like. The whole idea is I'm going to give you all of these trinkets and shiny things and people and information that's stimulating, that's exciting, that takes your attention away of what is at the core or what is at your own foundation. And it starts to mold the truth of what is meaning. And to give you some examples here, let's say, well, if you're healthy, or if you have a partner, or you have kids, then you should be happy. That's your meaning. But somehow you find yourself, even when you have all of these things, even if you're super healthy and you have children and you have a partner, and imagine even you have like a Lamborghini in your driveway, and for some reason you're still not happy. Because yes, these are things that are great and we should all be grateful for them, because everything that we have on a physical sense helps to enrich our physical experience. But it's not that which is going to provide us or give us any sense of meaning, because they simply, nothing outside of you or me or us can be a source of meaning, the meaning to feel alive and inspired. And the reason for this is the moment we place something outside of us as our source for meaning, what we do is we start projecting onto them our expectations. And every single time We have expectations. Those same expectations, our own expectations, become our own source for pain. And yes, we can still have wants and desires. For example, I want you to treat me in a certain way. I want you to provide me with a certain thing. But every single time, we should be also willing to, with those same wants, to let go. And this letting go is mostly in an internal agreement, more so than an external agreement with that person or thing. For example, you want something, somebody tells you, I'm sorry, I cannot do it. So you can try again and again. At some point, yes, maybe they might not be the right person to help you or provide it for you. So you find somebody else or you find something else. It's more about that internal agreement is that, yes, I still want and desire these things, but my expectation is not on that one specific person to provide it for me. My expectation or agreement would be on, okay, I'm the one who wants it, so I can let go of the person or the thing that is not able or capable of providing me that with. So then it depends on me, then I go and find it somewhere else. This is something much deeper. This is not just about, let's say, I want a Lamborghini. I go to the first person and I ask them, can you get me a Lamborghini? And they say no. Okay, not a problem. Then you go to the second person and they tell you no. It's here also about understanding what is hidden behind those actual wants. For example, you want something materially luxurious. So what you're actually needing is comfort. And now to ask yourself, what are the comfort needs that I have unmet? And is this thing that I want truly going to bring me a sense of peace and happiness? Because you might just be happy and peaceful with a Toyota and you might not necessarily need a Lamborghini. So that desire or want may come more from an ego than from an actual place of need. And all of these questions will be very, very important to ask yourself and be transparent with the answer to actually start getting closer to what are these subconscious underlying causes behind what you are wanting and what you are expecting. And sometimes we may think in our head that we know the answer, but we never truly know any answer to anything until we feel it. To feel it and to connect with it. And we don't connect to it because, for the most part, we don't want to feel. Because what feelings can do, and allowing yourself to feel, feelings can bring out the uncomfortable reality, where you start to realize that these preconceived ideas in your head actually feel wrong to you. They're actually the ones that are draining you. And the best way you can recognize this is when you resist to feel something, when you resist to feel an experience, when you resist to feel a uncomfortable emotion when you're being triggered. Whether that emotion arises in your anger, whether that emotion arises in your sadness or pain or hurt or whatever it is. The more we have resistance within, the more we carry expectations outside, which makes it more difficult for us to discover meaning. And the way this can look like, for example, you can have a good person in your life, or define this good by the people around you, friends, family, and so on. But for some reason, if you're completely honest and transparent with yourself, even if they're this amazing human being for everyone else, or in their eyes and perception, you feel alone with them. It's like your mind is being convinced and told, well, you should be happy, they're amazing. And yes, you agree, they are amazing. They have, if you want to call this, green flags, they're absolutely incredible and wonderful. But there is a part of you inside that feels alone. And the thing is, you can run away from them, but you cannot run away from yourself. And eventually, you're going to have to face that truth and reality. Because unless you do, It keeps that inner war alive. And what do I mean by inner war? Is that you feel one thing, but what you know and what you believe in is something completely different. And this creates inside of us, inner division. It's the division between our own thoughts and our own feelings. And this inner division creates emotional instability because we cannot make sense of what we're feeling and thinking and find an understanding and find a grounding point, a meeting point. So the reason why it is so essential to invest time and energy in learning and knowing ourselves. Again, Asaman astrology is one of the tools I use. For those who don't connect with that, there's plenty of other tools out there. This is the one that I believe is the most effective. Of course, that's why I teach it and I practice it. But there are other esoteric ways where you can derive that truth. But you're not going to get to it until you start investing your time and energy and being patient with it, because it takes time. It takes time to start discovering that grounding, that blending, that meeting point that's going to give you mental peace and emotional clarity. And that only comes when you start understanding and aligning with yourself and who you are. And the way you know that you're in alignment is that despite what else is going on in your life, you might be having a building right next to you crashing down and be a part of some emergency situation, but inside you experience inner peace, where that inner war or conflict between your emotions and thoughts has reached an agreement. This is more about very internal contractual agreement, where you start focusing on the truth about you that you're aligning from the inside, rather than look for that credential of importance that has been defined from the outside. What that is going to bring you is inner peace, because you were true to you and you have already made this inner agreement and decision with yourself first, that regardless of the outcome, my value and my meaning lies with what is true about me. But one of the reasons why it is so difficult to know ourselves and why we need to put so much conscious effort into learning and practicing and aligning with that self is because we were rarely or barely ever allowed to and permitted to. The reason why we are not allowed and permitted that knowledge is because we're born into a world, a country, society, culture, religion, doesn't matter, that already created for us those frameworks of what shall make you happy and what shall give you meaning. You're born into a world with billboards, with maps. If you have this body, you should be happy. If you have this kind of relationship, you should be happy. If you have these kids, you should be happy. And God forbid you complain, something is wrong with you. And you start feeling like this horrible person because you're going to strive to get these things, you're going to have them, and for some reason you still find yourself miserable with the Lamborghini, two supermodels by your side, and all of these material and financial abundance, for example. But in reality, that truth, what is being trendy or advertised, it is limited. It is framed and it has already been controlled. Like I said, it can be controlled by a family or religion or society or the government. It doesn't matter. It is controlled. It is molded and it's been thrown at you. Here, go and follow. And that's what you are projected on. So of who you should be, the role you should play, what is now expected of you. And God forbid you don't fulfill those expectations, then nobody's going to be happy with you and you're not going to be happy either. And this is the perception you are created. But let's bring things back to the beginning, back to the origin of parenthood. Many times, even parenthood starts with the wrong motive, with the wrong intention. Very rarely, you become a parent because you want to give something to a child. You want to give them love. Most of the times, people become parents because whether they have to, they're expected to, they're told that a child is what's going to bring you meaning and happiness in this life, so you just gotta have it. It's your duty, it's your job here. So imagine, even with these strong projections onto you, before you even come into this world, are already placed. It makes it even more challenging to be you and to allow yourself to be you. And God forbid you dare to question and inquire. And of course, if we don't question and we don't inquire, we forget. And for those who do question and inquire, those who are eager and willing to see themselves, you will be met with a lot of discomfort. It's not an easy process. It's definitely not an easy process that's all flowers and butterflies and peaches. Because first, the environment around you is going to resist or push back to that change of you. But what's even more challenging than that is you needing to face your own feelings and emotions, because without this transparency, without stopping to resist what you feel, it doesn't matter who likes you or dislikes you. The war inside continues to live. And what that war looks like, it looks like hiding behind fears, constant people pleasing, niceness, or in some cases, it can even play out through arrogance or pain or constant complaints. There is just something unsettled inside. One way or another is still going to come out as something destructive. The most important thing to know is that when you want to invest in who you are and understand yourself, there will be two things that are required from you. So these would be the expectations you need to have towards you. And one would be if you have the necessary courage. Because without that courage and facing those uncomfortable inner emotions, or for example, especially this would be the most challenging thing when we speak about that transformation in a close family environment where, let's say, you realize you're gay, but your mother is not going to accept that. So now you're going to receive her pushback or resistance. And then the feeling that that's going to create within you is that I'm rejected, I'm not loved by her. But what is more important for you, to be loved and liked for something that you're not, or really loved and respected for something that you truly are? What holds more value for you? So here, since this can be very painful, especially when we speak about coming to terms and face with close relationships and dynamics, is to have the courage, and not so much to fight with them, but to confront our own inner discomfort that arises from these feelings and emotions, and find ways to make inner peace, because eventually those outside relationships, they are going to come to a place of stillness too, but nothing will ever come to a place of stillness if it doesn't come first from within. The second important thing you're going to need to have is to give yourself time, to give yourself permission and allow yourself the time to invest and question and inquire. Of course, it's not like knowing yourself is going to be, oh, today I read one thing and tomorrow I already know who I am. No, it takes time and practice. Almost imagine like I don't know who I am for 18 years. I might need 18 years to practice and inquire and discover, to actually start getting in touch with me in that role. That's why the older you are, it becomes more challenging, and sometimes people even don't even want to deal with that, because you might have lived 60 years of an illusion. What am I going to spend now the rest of my life, even if it's 60 more years to dissolve that illusion? Yes, it's never too late to start, but still, In many cases, the younger you are, the more you have the strength and the energy to give, first of all, yourself time, because you have more time in front of you. And second of all, yes, you can have the courage or the energy to be more courageous and to face that resistance coming in your way. And the third important quality to have is patience. Patience. These things and this process doesn't come from today to tomorrow. It requires patience. And sometimes you might not have even people around you who are patient with your process, but you need to trust it and be first patient with yourself. Because if you don't give yourself the time and the space and the patience that you need, nobody else will. No one. No other human being can enter in your body and be in your experience and feel what you feel. Absolutely no one. Even the most compassionate and empathetic person can't. Even through my work, I can get to, who knows, maybe 70, 80% close to a person, but I'm still not them. I cannot be in your life. I haven't been in all of your experiences in life. I cannot know, 200% exactly what you are experiencing within your own body and thoughts and emotions and how everything is feeling. I can't. Absolutely no one can. But it's you. It's only you who can give yourself that time and space and permission. And one thing that's also going to help you is to be in that mindset of being open to surprise. Because you won't know, you're going to face things that you might not have expected, whether they are good and enjoyable or uncomfortable. And especially in the moments when they are uncomfortable, the first instinct will be to rush them or run away from them. Whereas when you are in that state of surprise, as difficult as it can be, you allow yourself to learn. Or if I need to psychologically relate it, that state of surprise is very much related to the state of a child that's just starting to grow and to explore life. You are in that state of curiosity, and I'm just surprised how that works and how that functions. So this is one of the most important things to cultivate that childlike state. Because when you're at a place of, I know everything about me, I have all of the answers, I know what's the right way, I resist any information, then you can never learn anything. And even open yourself up on this path of understanding and knowing yourself. Because a child is understanding and knowing itself through explorations, through learning. I mean, even when we look at a baby, what does a baby do when the baby is born? They start, touching their private parts. Especially if you've seen like a little boy, it's like pull that. I'm not going to say it here because I don't want this video to get removed, but they're touching their feet and their hands and all of these things. You are starting to explore yourself. So when you start going on this journey, you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to start be curious. What if I change the way I say things? What if before I jumped and now I'm going to try to be more patient and count to 10? And you start testing yourself and be curious to how things play out. How do you feel in these situations? And by exposing yourself in all of these different dynamics and situations, you get information reflected back to you, and then you use that information to sink in your feelings and your thoughts and see where synchronicities start to appear. And to make it clear here also with the function of Asman astrology, is not as a predictive tool, because absolutely no one can predict you anything in this life, even the greatest psychics. No one can do that. You first need to have the willingness, and second, invest the time and practice these things. I can only provide you with knowledge and information that can guide you. From this point on, I cannot do anything for you. It's all up to you to use that information and knowledge, to apply it, and then take the parts and pieces that work for you, that feel good to you, that bring you joy and happiness. And that is the whole goal. So you cannot use any source, again, doesn't matter if it's astrology or esoteric studies or philosophy or spiritual teachings, as the thing that's going to give you the answer and fix the problem. That's just not going to happen. Like, you have to put effort and actions and willingness to learn and be curious of what that new experience is reflecting back to you and providing you as information. And before we wrap up this video, I just want to say that at first, many of these parts, when we go on this self-discovery or self-knowledge journey, they're not wow, they're not something exciting, they're not something comfortable, they're not something wonderful and amazing. Usually the first part is we meet a lot of these uncomfortable feelings and come across the shadows or the dark sides of ourselves, because you're going to have to start being transparent with the illusions that create that inner division or inner war inside you. For example, you might have thought that you being like this good daughter and this perfect wife just so you can receive the love and validation by your parents and your partner was the right thing to do. But when that illusion starts dissolving and you actually seeing that that never made you happy in the first place, and actually you were playing a role because you were trying to fulfill an expectation placed on you, but you never actually stand up for yourself, and you're like, listen, I don't feel happy here. And suddenly you arrive in a situation where maybe you have a partner, you're already married, but since you were playing based on these expected behaviors from you, in the long run, you never really enjoyed yourself in that dynamic or with that specific person. Maybe they were like the nice guy or the one that's approved and happy for you. Because you were never happy, you were probably even a nightmare to be around, because you always either ignore your partner, or you stay quiet, or you complain all the time, or create like these obnoxious scandals. They're simply just draining and exhausting. So when you start coming to these realizations and seeing that your behavior was just like not nice at all, you were not nice to anybody, including yourself, and how when you try to fulfill an expectation and create a life that, or be in a situation that never truly felt happy for you, or it was never truly something that you wanted, and you realize, oh my God, I am just this horrible person. Because if I was, let's say, on my partner's, in my partner's shoes, I would not want to live with somebody who is so miserable. But only through this self-transparency you can start becoming, yeah, again, aware of what is truly right for you, and how when you make choices of what is not right for you, how your worst possible behaviors and shadows come in those interactions. Because when we're doing something because we have to and we're constantly forced or expected of course, all of our shadows are going to start coming to the surface, like left and right. Or, I mean, there can be a number of different scenarios how this can play out. Let's say you have a group of friends since childhood, and everybody's, I don't know, just giving as an example, like more on the nerdy side, and everybody like has the same interest about, you know, reading books and doing some specific craft or something. And suddenly you discover you are an artist or a nude artist, and it's something, and what you're interested is something more taboo or even odd or just different than what that specific group or what your current friends know you to be interested in and know you to believe in and be like. So now when you're trying to be yourself, of course, the group can reject you. I mean, they can accept you, but there would be also the possibility of them just not liking and not supporting now this new idea and vision and what you want to create. And you may feel like, well, if they reject me, then I'm not going to be alone. I'm not going to be any longer part of it. But also, you cannot hide and run away from that which you want to create, or even that you feel aligned with. So if you choose to stay in that group, you're going to be so miserable, and then you're going to make everybody's life miserable. Or the other choices, I'm going to take the consequences of being alone, or at least for some time, but give myself the time and the opportunity to align and connect with what feels true for me. Because eventually, when you are happy, you're aligned with and you meet the people who either support you or who reflect that energy back to you. Again, your other option would be to deny that part of yourself and you close in that group or community that you're used to, but because you don't feel happy there, the way this can also play out is that you don't want to confront these feelings within you, and because they can be so intense, so you try to escape them. So you can now try to escape them through some form of addiction or drugs or whatever the case is. But this escape takes away from your presence. I mean, you don't, when you're presently not there, you still don't belong. You're not part of actually anything. You're part of the fantasy of that escape, of part of that addiction. Also, another way the situation plays out, for example, if you are someone who has this tendencies of very easily getting addicted to things, it can be, again, even fantasies or porn addictions. When you start coming to the realization that, you know, for you might have been an escape, but for another person in that relationship, actually, that was extremely hurtful and painful, because that escape made you withhold the truth from them and to what you actually need or to what you actually want. And you're gonna need to confront and face that dark shadow of yours and that dark reality. I never realized how my own habits and choices actually hurt another person because I was simply not myself. Or a very, very common example that I have seen over and over and over again, especially with men who come from very like traditional families or very religious families, where again you are created that perception of vision that you have to, you know, get married and have a child and so on, and they may be attracted to men, and because their mother pushes and enforces that idea so much onto them that they, at some point they even start feeling anger and resentment towards the mother. But because they also feel like they can be this themselves and they're obligated, and sometimes there could be even like religious restrictions, and I mean things can get really, really messy there. Finally, they follow that idea or framework to happiness. They get married, they have a child, but they secretly know that, first of all, they don't like women. Second of all of that anger and resentment towards the mother is now going towards the wife. And of course, they're not feeling okay with themselves. The wife is suffering, the child is suffering. And because of this need to fulfill an expectations, now everybody is in pain. Let's say eventually you end up cheating on your wife because you never wanted to be there in the first place, or you never loved this person to begin with, because your inner needs and desires are still not met. And now this creates a huge mess. So the whole idea of self-knowledge and investing in knowing who we are, so we can prevent from these huge messes to eventually happen. So we can prevent from things escalating to such a high degree. Of course, we cannot avoid that in life would be difficult or painful situations, but when we have that awareness, it's hopefully pain and changes that we can more easily transition through, rather than be destructive to such a high degree. Because out of everything, the most destructive thing in life is self-illusion. Self-illusion distorts your own values and beliefs. And of course, when you don't know what is valuable to you and what to believe in, and what truly gives you meaning and happiness. And you live a life with inner war and disassociation and lack of finding emotional stability and feeling nurtured. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts, or if you have any questions. Subscribe, like, and share, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.